So how did the government's initiative of encouraging the opening of bank accounts help in kind of helping this proliferate? Because I still believe there's a lot of account darkness in the country where people don't have accounts, bank accounts. Then how can they have a credit card?
No, actually, India is one of the highest penetrated for bank accounts between Jan Dhan accounts and all the mandatory requirements, your benefit transfer into bank accounts, Aadhaar linking. I think India's that scenario has changed. UPI has made a big difference to retail payments landscape. Bank account activation is led by third-party apps. There are definitely more bank accounts, and very interestingly, Aadhaar-led bank accounts. Earlier, there was a bank account, and where was the identity lying? Today, what we have done as a master stroke is we have created a single identity for the customer, and we know the bank account of that customer. Where it is very important is again, Anil, when I'm lending to a user, uska pura horoscope I need to know. And this linkage between Aadhaar and bank account, I would say, is one of the fundamental pillars in which the credit economy will be built on for us. Because once I know who you are, then there are frameworks that have come up like account aggregation or aggregator, where you can just create an ID and give your bank account details to any lender. Earlier, you remember we had to take printouts if we are in need of a loan or a credit card. You have to send your last 3 months statement, go get it attested from your branch. None of that is required today. So, what will all this add into UPI? The power of transaction data sitting with UPI will definitely create new underwriting models, right? It will not just be for the salaried class with a multiplier on the monthly take home salary. It will definitely be newer algorithms which will say, okay, this is the velocity, this is the kind of transactions, this is the kind of categories, and this is the bank balance they have. So they qualify for a running credit, which could even be flexible in nature. So I feel the identity part adding to the bank account penetration will be a big boon in the days to come. In addition to the whole infrastructure that's being built around like account aggregator, etc., etc. And while all the dissing of fintechs and NBFCs happen, they are also playing their role in expanding the scope of who's getting a loan. Now, earlier, if you wanted a home loan and you had zero loan track, versus today, you take a lending app, borrow some money, repay, your credit score is starting to get built. Earlier, the CIBIL or bureau no match used to be 50% of cases. And that is a struggle because if you want to go for the good loans, as we call it, if you don't have a credit score, it was very difficult. Today, what is happening with these lower tickets, lending, etc., etc., people's credit scores and credit imprint is starting. And once your credit imprint starts and it grows, it becomes easier for larger institutions to give you credit.
No, I get that. I get that. But, in terms of what percentage you think of the population out of the 1.4 billion, and maybe that would be about 350, 400 million households would be having a bank account?
I'll have to Google and tell you, but the last data I saw had, if I remember, the top 10 World Bank report says India is one of the top 10 in terms of bank account penetration.
Okay. So
yeah.
Would it be 600 million accounts?
78% of Indians above 15 years owned an account in 2021. It was only 44% in 2011.
So in
So
10
when
years,
you take adult population, it goes up to 85%. Nearly 90% of those aged 18 and above had access to a formal financial institution in India. So while often we tend to sort of think of India as this Bharat and not service, definitely not the case. So for example, what happened in the late 90s and early 2000s is the business correspondence, right? You had people actually going to branches. RBI did a very focused financial inclusion program where banks were mandated. Even today, if you're opening two branches in metros, you have to open N branch in a non-metro. All these ratios exist to promote financial inclusion, which is where the data is coming from. You can see it in so 78% of Indians above 15 and about 90% of Indians above 80 own a bank account.
What is the tech stack behind the Hyperface platform, and what is it built on? What are the security levels? Who are your partners in terms of cloud storage, and how much of adaptation does a company have to resort to have a partner integrate with your platform? It could be, I have a bank with me, but then I want to integrate. How much of an adaptation do I have to do? How does it work?
Very little will be my answer. What we do is we pre-imagine a product. The front end, everything is ready for a co-brand to plug it, and they can make it customized to their look and feel. I want a background to be orange, and I want the buttons to be circular, and all those elements are configurable. So we are
So
a
this is, you're talking
modern
about a
stack.
digital one, not a plastic one.
We are not a physical infrastructure company.
So it's primarily digital.
We are a API and dashboard and progressive web app, and basically we are a digital first company. So
Sure.
where we really help banks is, like I said, create a great digital experience layer, be it for their own credit cards or for the co-branded credit cards. When it comes to co-branded credit cards, if you were to work with a bank standalone, banks are highly regulated. There is InfoSec, AppSec, compliance sign-off, regulatory guidelines. Now imagine if you're a retail brand that we spoke about, you really don't have anybody there who's an expert on banking guidelines, which is where you need an expert, and that is the role that Hyperface plays. We are your trusted tech partner for issuing co-branded credit cards within your own app to your users. What we do, we understand banks. I mean, I'm a banker for almost 2 decades. We understand technology. My co-founder built one of the Beam UPI was
So
built by
RV,
just
RV basically.
Ramanathan RV. So what we do, of course, the great team, I should talk about them here. They're all from fintech and consumer tech, and we understand payments, we understand credit cards, we go deep in our integration with banks, and we build a feature layer on top. A simple example is a spend analytics. Today, a bank cannot offer spend analytics. If you're a co-brand, a retail co-brand wanting to offer it, either you build it in-house or you come to Hyperface and say, hey, you know what, these basics I have, why don't you give me these value adds? It could be a personalized nudge to the user. It could be a milestone display on the co-branded card. If you're a movie chain who has said, in my co-branded card, spend 10,000 a month and get 2 movie tickets free. How does the customer know about it? That's where Hyperface can step in. As a tech architecture, Anil, we are a cloud-based modular platform. We are a middleware, as they call it. I'm not the core system. We do have a core system solution for banks looking for it, but our experience or value add layer sits on top of the bank's existing core. What is the advantage to the bank? You do not have to move what you're doing. We come in and we create the layer, which makes it super easy for any partner to partner with you and offer co-branded credit cards. Also, what we do as a middle layer is create a user experience which is next level beyond what the bank can do with their regular core systems, because we are cloud based and we are modular, and these technical terms, right? Microservices based architecture, etc., helps us to be much more faster in delivering a higher order user experience, right? We work with webhooks, for example. We don't wait for end of day files and batch processing. Things can be far more real time and delightful. A partner integration in a manual setup, you submit a button, next day file goes to the partner. In Hyperface, you actually can pull a QR code. You can pay for the QR code for lounge access and you get it immediately. That's the level of experience that we can power for our co-brand and bank partners. Most interestingly, with Hyperface for a co-brand, the time to go live comes down significantly from about anywhere between 12 to 18 months. This comes down to 4 to 6 weeks for you to start testing, and by the time you finish the card design and get the card printed, your entire interface for the user is ready.
I get it, but scalability is an issue. So how scalable
We
are
are
you all?
cloud based, we are AWS, so we regularly monitor our infra requirements. It is exactly as per RBI guidelines, because RBI is very worried on scalability. There are clear guidelines given on cloud data, security, infra, and we stick to all that. Before we go live for a co-brand, there is an end-to-end audit done by the bank. These are typically by Big Fours, and they sign us off for scalability. So you can be rest assured that scalability won't be a challenge. Also, typically scalability is what cloud addresses, right? Scalability happens when I buy a little data box and put it inside my office and run data there. When you're buying it from a cloud service provider, you can keep adding the data requirement on the fly. As you're ingesting more data, you can provision for more, so that gives the immediate flexibility to scale as well.
What about security? SSL 3.0 or what is the security?
We are PCI DSS certified. We are ISO, all standards that the bank requires. We are bank degree security. If you trust your bank, you trust your bank's tech trusted credit card partner, Hyperface, because your bank is signing us off on all these security related requirements.
Okay, so I'm a company. I have a bank as a partner. I come to you all. You'll help me set it up. How do you make money? Is it per transaction or do you charge a license fee for the serve your
See,
credit card?
we are a as a service platform. So
Absolutely.
typically, as a service platform, work on a recurring revenue model. So we do make money with a per account use, etc. And we also charge a one-time customization slash setup fee. That will vary depending on the effort. If it's a bank that Hyperface is already integrated with, it will be very marginal. If it's a new bank, it will be higher. But where you can trust us is the timeline, because I know and I've done it for other banks. For us, the time to market to do that integration versus your own tech team will be much faster.
I get it. So there are other suppliers of the credit card as a service platform like M2P, Zeta. They are overseas. They're global players. How do you compare? How do they compare with Hyperface?
Actually, they are playing more in the core play. So what today the large legacy core play, while we do have a core component, Hyperface is equally focused on the user experience layer, the middleware that I spoke about, because we feel that that is what will give great user experiences. If I were to get myself certified by a Visa, MasterCard, RuPay, there isn't too much difference. My product is the same. But here, what happens? You're thinking higher order, you're thinking hyper personalization, you're thinking how user cohorts can get defined, you're thinking how can you create state of the art analytics. So, being a middleware is, I would say, our extra power versus typical SaaS platforms who are providing this core credit cards as a service. Hyperface is a credit cards as a service which helps you reimagine digital experiences. That part is where I would say Hyperface differs from the stats that you mentioned.
I understand. So who really competes with you in the space apart? So these guys are core guys, service providers. Who's the competitors emerging in the Indian
We
landscape?
were the first credit cards as a service. These are all the names that you took are core platforms, CMS
Sure,
players as they are called. Hyperface is Asia's first credit cards as a service. Of
sure.
course, considering how much impact it has had, there are players who are coming up. But I'm hoping we will not just be the first, but be also the best. So it's a
And how will you retain
journey.
that first mover advantage? How do you keep retaining that?
See, I think to me, a first mover advantage, especially in digital age, doesn't mean anything, right? We all know the story of Orkuts and Facebook, and it has repeatedly played out. What is more important is to be on the top of what your customers need. What are the banks looking for? What are the brands looking for? What is the flexibility your product can offer? Product and technology leadership is what can win the game. This, especially, the journey of 1 out of 5 credit cards being co-brands to 1 out of 3 will mean there will be more players in the market. So Hyperface will have to keep upping our product and tech consistently to compete with those folks.
I get it now. So you have signed on many clients. You've got IndusInd Bank, you've got Federal Bank, you've got AU Bank, you've got Pepper Money, you've got Lakshmi, which is a women's platform or women's credit lending mechanism. You've got Aditya Birla Capital, Bank Bazaar, Transcorp, NeoSurge, Credflow. You have offices in Bangalore, Mumbai, Delhi, Jaipur. 3.5 million plus cards. What's next?
If to go global, Anil, we should get
Okay.
to 100 million revenue. There is just big goals, right? Very big goals, and obviously we need all your best wishes for that. But I think we are just getting started, because for long, like I said, credit cards have been very boring form factors for the user, while it is intrinsically built for so much excitement and digital delight. All the dopamine that you can hit the customer with, the way a GPay engages with you, right? The way a Paytm engages with you. Your credit card today, unfortunately, is not, and it has so much inbuilt to give you the dopamine hit. Hey, you got your 5x reward points. Hey, here is your lounge access voucher. And I really believe that is where Hyperface will make a meaningful difference in making this product come alive for the users, because this is a product that is bound to grow and leap and bounds, and there will be so many things. For something that you mentioned which touched the nerve is responsible credit. How can we contribute to that? How can we create spend-based guardrails for the user? Can I create instant alerts? These are the problems that we want to solve for. Make it a very digitally consumable product for the digital users of today.
Fantastic. I mean, I think you're really on the right path. But are you guys generating cash flows or,
Yeah, of course,
are
we
you
are
just
making
burning cash?
revenues. We are making
Sorry?
revenues. We are making revenues, not as much as I would like to, but it will add up. That's the typical story with any software as a service, right? It will keep adding up because these are annuity income pools.
Yeah, but you're still on a cash burn right now.
Like all startups in their early days, Anil, we are
Yeah.
making revenue.
Okay. Cash flow positive?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So you will require more funding to get going further and to scale up. You said global,
Yeah, to power our ambitions, absolutely.
but also domestically.
Yes, domestically, we want to go work with all the top. In India, there are just about 22 banks issuing credit cards. We would love to see how we can add that number. And second, we would love to work with at least 10, 15 of the banks there. We are with three now, adding three more as we speak, and hopefully we'll be adding more. So, idea is definitely to go for a large market share within India and definitely also take this level of user experience across and outside the country as well.
So currently the funding is how much? You've got about 20 mil?
No, we raised about 10.3 mil so far.
Okay. And you have certain milestones which you have to meet to be able to go for the next third round. You told me you had two
And
rounds.
we are on track to meeting them. And
So fabulous, fantastic. Now coming back to my sector that we are specializing in, that's the media and entertainment sector. How can an OTT streaming app or a pay TV platform work closely and make use of the co-branded experience and use the Hyperface platform? Would you recommend it? What are the benefits that can come their way?
biggest challenge today, the streaming platforms face, right? The total pool of customers who pay for subscription in India is still low, right? It is not a vastly distributed product, which is why we are seeing models like pay-per content emerging. Now, add the power of a payment instrument right there. If you were to say, I'm just taking a Disney example, take a Disney co-branded card and get a 10% discount on Disney content. That is the way you encourage repeat usage, send them to the merch store or send them to we discuss ZTV event that your company takes care of, send them to the event, make the brand experience come alive to the user with credit card becoming an engagement point. For example, you're in Mumbai, why don't we say when you're in Mumbai, you get a free visit to the Z Studios to meet your favorite stars? Today, the problem is the brands and the customer touch points are too far away. And to get the engagement data, today app engagement is a big metric. My daily logging in users is a big metric. When you give them a payment instrument, the reason why a lot of neobanks started offering UPI is because customer keeps opening the app. Credit card has that effect, and if you can engage them well, when I come here to see the balance, when I come to see the pay the bill in the app, in your app, which is what Hyperpay can cover, that becomes an engagement point to sell them more, do more on your brand experience, and ensure their overall stickiness increases.
Will it be a cost center or will it be a profit center? How does the company translate that into a cost center? Because they'll be making payments to y'all guys. There'll be a
There is
setup.
that is taken care of. If the customer is going to use your card, like I said, there is economics on the table. Bank is getting this vast user base that they might end up selling a home loan or a personal loan to. So I wouldn't say there is a lot of money, but this is definitely not a cost center. This is how I would put it. It is a better engagement mechanism and a better loyalty multiplier than not offering a payment instrument.
So you recommend that a Tata Play, for instance, or a Dish TV or a Prime. I'm not sure with the Prime whether the co-branded cards works with.
The Amazon Pay card today works on Prime subscription as well. They give a free subscription to Prime. But even in US, for example, Disney offers a co-branded card which gives discount in merch, discount in theme parks. So there is a lot that can be done in building engagement, especially in the era where payment is not something customers are liking to do. Ingrain a payment product within your app, and that should be the pull to even consume content as streaming content, right? If you want to say this particular episode is available and if you have this co-branded card, you get a 10% discount, it brings them in.
No, I get it. So is there scope for a Chota Beam credit card, branded credit card? Because Chota Beam is a phenomenon.
Unfortunately, Chota Beam fans are not going to be bank users.
I'm talking about the parents.
I would love to see a IPL credit card. Why not a Mumbai Indians credit card? I would love to power a Mumbai Indians credit card or a Tala Dhoni credit card. These are all things that we should be doing absolutely. See, as communities build, right? I mean, the whole Uber credit card, for example, it's a global phenomena, right? Uber credit card and even entertainment consumption like IPL, sports teams. There is a Man U credit card which ICICI Bank offers in India. You get merchant Nike credit card. All these things will come about, and I feel entertainment also focuses on building communities, and a co-branded community, co-branded credit card is another way to identify yourself and be part of the community and get the member discounts, etc., etc.
What about crypto cards?
We, like I told you, we work with banks. We are bank approved and bank certified. The day banks start issuing them, why not?
What
And
about
the
using
day
the blockchain?
regulations are clear about it, we would
Yeah.
love
What
to
about
cover it.
blockchain? What about blockchain for usage in financial system?
Multiple use cases, Anil. I think technology in itself, when people tell me AI, blockchain, I think it all comes down to how you can use it, how can you build meaningful use cases around it. For example, healthcare, I still feel as a better use case than blockchain. Bank systems are already too structured, and a lot of systems are set up to change them is a little difficult. But if you take something like a healthcare,
Yeah,
which has
but
been
the
vastly
customer ends up paying for all of the archaic legacy systems, whereas with blockchain, it reduces the cost drastically, and that's when the legacy systems are
customer
resisting.
pain with banking, is it even an Indian concept? Today, look at the number of customers using UPI, the friction-free payments that we have empowered, which has crossed billions and billions. I don't think the Indian customer is pained in financial services. It's a myth. I mean, as somebody who's been in the banking space, I would not. We have gone leaps and bounds. We are much ahead of US and Europe on real-time payments. So there is no friction for the user. Blockchain has its own advantages, but for a market like India, I'm not too sure. We are being well served, is how I would put it, in terms of real-time payments, real-time banking settlement cycles, etc.
Okay, great. Now, coming back to another question, going forward, we see plastic becoming redundant, especially the physical cards. Like you said, you're a digital instrument only. So, how does the industry prepare for the scenario one, where I'll have this everything in my phone, where all I've got to do when I'm traveling in Singapore, all I've got to do is flash my phone when I'm going into the subway, the metro, the MRT, or the MTR, as either in Singapore, Hong Kong. Then I go into a fair price shop. I pick up my goods. If I want to pick up some groceries, I just pay with my phone. Then I get into a bus, I just pay with my phone. I don't have, it's very, very simple and very easy. So, do we see that happening in India, especially because considering there are so many smartphones and 800 million phones and or
It's
billion phones?
already started happening. We are seeing the revolution of FASTag, right? For example,
Sure.
transit payments, NCMC. In India, you need to remember that we have a local payment network, NPCI, which is
That's
mandated
right.
with these large, which is why the proliferation of it, the way you're seeing it in other markets, which are in different stages of maturity, is taking time. But I'm fairly confident with the kind of rails that have been put up by NPCI, all these products are there, and it is a matter of them scaling. For example, the Mumbai Metro, right? We are seeing the tap and pay and everything. People have to get certified. It will have a cycle of its own, but we are not behind in terms of the infra required. Now it is a matter of banks coming in and scaling in that, which I think is a matter of time to happen.
How do you see the credit card universe evolving in terms of growth? 35% was the growth last year, as per your own estimates. Where is it? Where is the growth going to come from? Is it from the top end of the funnel, or is it from the middle level, or is it from the lower end of the funnel? And where is it going to come from? The growth demographically, geographically, and why do we see that happening?
To me, the biggest growth is going to come from credit cards offered on RuPay. More and more banks are
Okay.
starting to offer credit cards. We're seeing a lot of interest from smaller banks who are sitting with big piles of savings account, right? The next logical step is for them to say, I'll give you a credit card with a RuPay, because RuPay is not as expensive. Systems are coming in. While you mentioned the large ones like Zeta and M2P, there are players like Pismo, there are players like us who are all lower cost CMS alternatives that are coming in for these smaller banks. Earlier, this was just a monopoly or duopoly for a couple of
Okay.
European core systems. Today, that is changing. There are more and more players offering core system for credit cards, which means the cost to offer it will come down for banks. Second part is a structural access to credit. We spoke about credit scores are increasing, customer credit footprints are increasing, which means banks can underwrite better. So to me, I wouldn't call them bottom of the pyramid. Honestly, if top 5% of the country is only owning the credit card, what about the people sitting from the 80th percentile to the 95th percentile? That to me needs to get penetrated in the next 3 to 5 years, and that is the job that needs to be done. And then we'll go down to the bottom of the pyramid. In my mind, tier 2 locations we spoke about, digital access, increased people, gig economy workers, MSMEs. To me, a lot of those segments will get opened up to credit cards is what I'm hoping for as a crystal ball gazing.
And where do you see yourself in those 3 years? Hyperface is a company. Remember, there's another company which does a lot of face recognition called Hyperface. You
Is
need
it?
to
It's a
really,
technology, I believe.
yes.
We are thankfully registered our name and trademarks office in India.
You have
But
to be
coming
careful
back,
when you go global, though. When you go global,
yeah, definitely. Thanks a lot for that pointer. Where we'll be, of course, we want to be leading this wave, right? This is a product that will grow and that will keep growing, and we want to be sure we are there for anybody who's looking to create the most definitive credit card experience. Hyperface should be the answer. Think credit cards users, think credit card innovations. Hyperface comes in, be it a brand, be it a bank. We are happy to power innovative credit cards for you.
and when do you expect to hit unicorn status?
I would say, the unicorn or whatever tags come later, I would rather go for the best product company globally that has ever been for credit cards
Okay.
first. So I'm sure unicorn will follow that. Think of great technology and you go to hyperface is what every global bank issuing a meaningful number of credit cards should say. If we have gotten there, Anil, automatically the unicorn or whatever tags will follow.
Fantastic. So coming back now to your personal life, you're married, you've got a kid who loves anime, I believe.
I have two kids, mother of one teenager and one almost teenager, as I put it. I'm seeing the Gen Z in action all the day. My husband is a techie who works with a large global tech company. And somewhere, I've grown up in South and I've been this ambitious girl who's been very lucky to have a very supportive family who have supported my ambitions, is how I would put it.
And you did Mica and you became a banker.
I was in
Uh,
advertising for 2.5 years. I love brands. And I'm so happy I'm doing something for brands now. Yeah, so I studied brand management. I was with advertising and then I did the shift to banking and I've loved it ever since. Moving people's money, I think, is the biggest honor. To be able to make a meaningful difference in somebody's finances is to be able to make a meaningful difference to their life. So I think that's what excites me about being a banker or building products for banks and financial services.
but you're not very boring, by the way. You seem to be very literate. You read a lot.
Yes,
You
I
sound
do.
like that. You
I'm a
seem to be
big
somebody who reads.
I'm a big fiction fan. My dad is an English professor, so the above comes from Jane Austen to Elif Shafak to Murakami. I read anything and everything in fiction. Non-fiction, I keep getting used to, but yeah, of late I've picked up the startup world books.
Fantastic. And what's your favorite? Do you watch Shark Tank yourself?
I used to watch the American version of Shark Tank. I don't watch Shark Tank India that much, but yes, it's pretty inspiring. The couple of episodes I've managed to catch. Honestly, last 3 years I've been so busy building Hyperface that when you're asking me this, I'm the kind who prefers to sit in a corner with my book versus the television show. So I'm not very updated on the television part, but I'm a big MasterChef fan.
Okay.
The Master
Cooking.
Master. I watch a lot of your Fuzzy and all those TV shows as well because I think fiction is a good respite. And you just go and watch a lot of business programming. I love Shark Tank every day. We discuss dilution and valuation, whatever. I don't want to go watch that in my spare time.
I understand. So, what are you reading currently? Have you got your hands on the book which you're reading?
I am reading this very interesting book called Deep Work, which tells you how to focus better in this whole connected world where you're always switched on. It's a very fascinating book that talks about how do you meaningfully switch off to be productive. The different approaches different people have taken. There are people who go to the extreme of shutting themselves in an island and writing a book, and there are people like us who can't afford the luxury of us actually an office floor. Then how do you shut yourself down and improve your productivity? It's a very fascinating read. I think it's a must read for our time with the amount of digital distractions we keep getting pinned to as I'm talking to you. The mobile phone notification is buzzing. There is some emails that are knocking. So it's very important to find the focus and work. So it's a must read for our times.
No, no, but now what I asked you is what keeps you awake at night about work? What
It's a
is
very
it that
listed question,
worries?
I think.
Yeah, what keeps you awake at night about your work? Or you don't, you switch off when you get home.
No, I can't switch off. I think no entrepreneur can ever switch off. What keeps me worried is how do we keep creating that superlative products that makes everybody go, wow, this is done by Hyperface. I think as a product manager, I've always obsessed. I remember seeing the first payment experience powered by JustPay. At that time, I didn't even know my co-founder, and I remember going, wow. I said, this is how products should be built. And I would love for products that create wow, that get built by Hyperface. And how do we keep getting better at that?
So how did you and Ram get together? I mean,
So he was building JustPay, and JustPay was our intended partner for Kotak 811 when we were facing payment frictions. That's
okay.
how we got to know each other. And from Kotak, I moved to HSBC, and that's when I got in touch with him. When at some stage in life, the startup bug bites you, and I started reaching out to the entrepreneurs I knew and respect. Somewhere interestingly, it was around the same time that he had moved on from JustPay. So we connected, we tossed a few ideas, and we both really believed in the credit story and the credit card story. And here we are.
Fantastic. And it seems to be you're just at the start of your runway and you've got some way to go. And, like you said, you want to build an excellent product and you want to keep moving ahead and excelling every time. And I'm sure you'll get there because what's driving you is your passion and like you said, you want to make a difference to people's lives. So wonderful to really have this conversation with you. And thank you for your time. It's been my pleasure and my honor because I got to learn a lot from you. And I'm sure even our audiences would learn a lot from you from the conversation that we've had.